Matt Murray is one of my boys, and my relationship with him has really, really changed my life. If you want to be successful, affiliate with people around you that are successful.
Saved by Murray. What a save by Matt Murray.
What a stop by Murray.
He's top 3 in save percentage. I can see why.
Great save there by Matt Murray.
Watch Matt Murray come across. Matt Murray across. Saved by Murray.
This is part 1 of my 2-part interview with 2-time Stanley Cup champion, former Pittsburgh Penguin, Ottawa Senator, and freshly re-signed goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Matt Murray. Matt has been a personal friend of mine for over 2 years now, and somebody that inspires me to strive for excellence and has truly changed my life for the better. And I hope that this interview inside the walls of the century-old Royal York in downtown Toronto truly showcases exactly that.
I don't want to get too into the weeds. It's a little dark sometimes, so we don't have to put this part in. But
fires one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen.
Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
I would expect nothing less.
Especially after last time?
Yeah. I can't even remember what we talked about last time.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I had to listen back to the first episode the other night just to see if I missed anything good. It's kind of hard to listen to myself. I don't know if you find the same thing.
Yeah, I don't like listening or watching myself or anything like that.
You just hate the sound of your own voice?
No, it's just weird. It's weird to see yourself in the third person, you know? Especially watching video too. I always think I suck whenever I watch video of myself. I'm like, ugh.
Sometimes I'll look back at stuff that I've shot long time in advance, and I'll think, God, it's so cringy. Why did I say that, or why did I do that?
Well, you got so much content out there too, so there's bound to be a couple things, right?
Yeah. But then if I film something right now, I'll go back and watch it tomorrow and be like, okay, that's not too bad. But then you look back in the future, what was I thinking?
Yeah, that's all right. We all have that. That's just hindsight. That's all. That happens to everybody.
You still got those 37-inch tires on the truck?
On my truck, I do, yeah.
37-inch tires, a little bit of lift, right?
Yeah.
F-150?
Yeah. It's got, I think, a 4-inch lift on it. And, 37s, some beadlock rims. It's a real northern truck. It's a northern Lamborghini, you can call it.
Pride of Thunder Bay, Fort William, or Port Arthur?
I'm from Fort William, West Fort, technically.
Okay.
I don't know if you know where West Fort is, but...
Is that CP or CN tracks?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
I tried to do a little bit of Thunder Bay history.
Wow, yeah, you went deep in the weeds. I don't know the answer to that. I'm a little embarrassed that I don't know the answer to that.
But you do know Persians were built in Thunder, or
Of course.
awesome donut.
Yeah.
A makeshift cinnamon bun with a little bit of glaze on top. Deep fried.
Have you had one?
Oh, dude, I love a good Persian.
Do they have them in Winnipeg too, or no?
They do.
Yeah.
My chick in Vancouver right now, she's going through a little bit of a phase because Tim Hortons just phased out the Long John, and she's just so chapped and bent out of shape by it. I know you're a birthday cake guy, so you're kind of unaffected. But
birthday cake, Timbits, and the sour cream glazed Timbits as well.
What about the blueberry sour cream glazed?
Yeah, those are good. Those are good. Can't go wrong with a Timbit.
The dirty double, as you call it?
Yeah, that's a treat. That's a treat. It's like a milkshake, so whenever you're willing to have a milkshake, you can have one of those, but...
It hits right depending on the mood that it gets you in. Sometimes you just crave one.
Oh, yeah. The double?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's something different about it. That's not even coffee, though. That's like a coffee-flavored milkshake.
Well, we were talking about it the other day on the walk back home from the Blue Jays game, but it's not the greatest coffee in the world, but there's an essence, there's an energy, there's a smell, there's a nostalgia behind it, where you're not even enjoying drinking the coffee, you just like going there.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm sure everybody, especially from northern small towns like me, after hockey, before hockey, with your parents. I used to go for lunch with my dad at Tim Hortons all the time, so there's obviously a lot of nostalgia that comes with Tim Hortons, and the brand is still alive and well for that reason, so they do a nice job there.
You saying your dad would take you after games to Tim Hortons?
Yeah, we used to go to Tim Hortons quite a bit. That was one of my dad's favorite spots, so yeah, we used to go there, grab lunch. Sometimes I would go for lunch when I was in school too, in high school. We got a decent lunch break, and it was a bit of a hike actually from our high school to Tim Hortons. So some of my buddies would go sometimes, or sometimes I would meet my dad for lunch. So yeah, you're right about the nostalgic the nostalgia thing that Tim Hortons definitely carries, especially up north.
What'd your dad get?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think he was a honey cruller guy, maybe. Honey cruller and a coffee. And I used to like that peach juice they have there when I was a kid. You know what I'm talking about? The bottle of peach juice.
I remember those.
That stuff's unbelievable.
When did they discontinue those? About 10, 15 years ago?
I didn't even know they did.
They're gone, dude.
Oh, man. I didn't know that.
So I was a bit of a chubby child growing up, I'll be honest. My dad worked for Canadian Pacific at the railway, and he'd bring me to work all the time. And because my dad,
Also, that's how you know about the railways.
a little bit of a history nerd as well, but he would bring me to work so many times. He'd always go to Tim Hortons every single day. My dad was also like excessively overweight. I can't figure out why. I love him, by the way.
Yeah.
But we'd always go to Tim Hortons, and the peach juice and the strawberry jelly filled vanilla dip donuts were what we get in every single time. And both of those are gonzo.
No way.
Way of the dinosaur.
Yeah, I guess that happens, right?
Times are changed, man. They're phasing out the Long John.
The Long John was never a go-to of mine, so I can't really sympathize with that one. But
What would you get as a kid, though?
what would I get at Tim Hortons?
Like outside of the peach drink?
Oh man, probably everything. Yeah, probably a little bit of everything. Double chocolate donut and a peach juice, I think, was probably my most common order there at Tim Hortons until I was like 12.
Breakfast of champions right there. Diabetes in a bag.
Yeah, no kidding. None of that anymore, that's for sure.
I know, you're pretty strict on that.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
If you're on the video version of the show, we got coffee right here at the Royal York, by the way, and Matt's just taking a black. He doesn't want none of the rooftop honey or cream or any of that.
Yeah,
fun
sometimes
stuff.
I do go cream and honey, though, when I'm looking for a little treat, but even that's probably better than whatever they put in a double-double at Tim Hortons, so.
Dishwater coffee.
Yeah.
It's nostalgic, though. Well, man, I don't think I said it to you the other day in person when we went to the Jays game, but congrats on signing the new deal.
Well, thank you, man. Thank
Be
you.
in Toronto for another year.
Yep.
Is interesting. So we'd planned this trip probably like a month and a bit ago. You would text me like, "Hey man, I think we should do a show together." I was like, "Absolutely, I'd love to do that." And first off, I'm honored that you're willing to trust me to tell your story and to share this in video format. Because to my knowledge, unless I'm missing something, you've done 2 digital like Zoom podcasts, but you've never done an in-person one. This is the first time, so I'm very honored.
You might be right about that. Yeah.
Not a lot of requests.
I don't know. If I do, I'm not seeing them.
You're a hard guy to get a hold of, as we talked about last time.
Yeah. I'm also, I'm not dying for everyone to know everything about me, so I don't.
You don't say.
I don't do a lot of talking about myself, I guess you could say.
Well, like I said, I'm really honored and I'm privileged that you're willing to trust me to do this. So I'm really looking forward to this. But
Yeah, man.
we planned the trip, come in the other day, and you text me, you're like, "Hey, let's go to a Blue Jays game." I'd never been to a Blue Jays game. It's going to be sweet. It's on Canada Day. It's the Jays, Rogers Center, beautiful day, plus 30, high UV, by the way. I was planning to buy a hat before I came here because we were going to go golfing. I was like, I don't want to burn the sun. I ended up canceling that, thinking, it's fine. Like, we're not going golfing. I don't need it. When we go to the Jays game, and man,
we needed it.
We burnt like tomatoes, but
Yeah, I burn quick, too. I burn real quick. I had to go buy sunscreen in the back. I had to go sneak back there and buy a little spray bottle of sunscreen. Saved me. And we left early, too, but wasn't the most exciting game that I've been to.
we got the tickets in the lounge section. And for those that don't know, everything's included in that, like drinks, food, etc. Lady comes by, very nice lady, by the way, and she says, "Can I get you gentlemen anything?" And Matt says, "You got any sunscreen?" I think we got some in the back, and he just lathers it on.
Oh, yeah. I burn quick, man. Whatever jeans I got in me, I can't spend too much time. One round of golf in the sun, like a super sunny day, one round, and I'm beat red. So
We were leaking, dude.
yeah, oh yeah.
It was a good game, though. I know you weren't maybe the most excited, but I'd never been to a game before. I thought the atmosphere was great. They honored the military, which was really cool.
Yeah, the ceremony was great. Yeah, we got to see a home run there by the Astros, unfortunately, but yeah, it was still a good time.
Oh, they had streakers, but an inning after we left. I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I did not
They
see
two
that.
guys hop on the field, security.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
We were literally talking about, this game's boring, nothing's happening. We missed that.
Yeah, I always wondered what goes through those people's minds before they do something like that.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah, that must be some kind of feeling.
Maybe all the 7 Truly vodka sodas that they had beforehand.
Yeah.
Kind of influencing you to do that type
Yeah,
of
there's
stuff.
a lot of that going around, yeah.
Where are you at these days, though? So you just signed the deal. You celebrated by taking me to the Jays game. Thank you very much, by the way. Like, where are you at, though?
Yeah, you gotta get a little more specific than that. What do you mean?
Well, okay, so you just signed the new 1-year deal with the
Yeah.
Leafs. You got huge shoulders, dude. What are you weighing in at these days, by the way?
It varies. Anywhere, I'm skating this week, so I'll probably lose a couple pounds for being on the ice, but anywhere from like 208 to 215, somewhere in that range.
Lean, mean, 208, 215?
Yeah, still pretty lean, yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into the hip surgery in a second, which I'm dying to pick your brain on because we haven't really gotten too much into it personally. But you just had double hip surgeries back in the fall.
Yep.
You played a couple games in the American League, didn't quite make it back into the NHL this season, like playing games wise. Like, where are you at, like in your career, mind space, physically? Like, how are you feeling? What are you looking forward to?
This year is just about proving that I can stay healthy, and that I got a nice little reset with the surgery, and so proving that I can stay healthy and still get the job done. So that's why I took a 1-year deal, it's kind of like a prove it deal. See what I can do, and if I can do both of those things, stay healthy and prove that I can still get the job done. I would imagine maybe a couple more opportunities come up next year, and taking things 1 year at a time. So that's the position I was in this year, coming off of the double hip surgery. I knew I wasn't going to get a big ticket by any means, and it's something I'm going to have to come back and prove that I can that I can stay healthy, like I said, for one, and that I can still play and still compete. Again, like I said, that's why I wanted the 1-year deal, just to get back into it, and hopefully some more opens up after that.
Well, I know you're going to say it in a very monotone, humble way. But when I was asking Matt yesterday about how do you feel about Toronto, how do you feel about playing here, he's over them. I love playing here. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere I want to play outside of Toronto. Mm-hmm. You want to elaborate a little bit more on that and why it's so great here?
I love everything about the city, other than the traffic, which is why I'm a little bit late here today. So I apologize for that. But it's a great city. I think it's a top city in the world. I know I haven't really traveled all that much necessarily, but I think it's a great city. The group of guys in the room is unbelievable. The staff there is unbelievable. The training staff. I know there's a lot of turnover at times, but usually like the training staff and that group of people tend to stay the same. And they nailed it with the group that they have here, and everything. The way that we're treated here, the facilities are great. It's close to home for me, which is obviously really nice. I could go on and on about why I like playing here, but the Leafs definitely have a special place in my heart, and I've always loved coming here as a visiting team, and I continue to love being here every time that I'm here. So I felt very fortunate to get the opportunity to sign another 1 year here, and stay right where I want to be.
You're a childhood Leafs fan, right?
Yeah, my dad certainly was a Leafs fan, so I kind of, by association, I became one. But I wouldn't really describe myself as a fan in the conventional way. I would say I wanted to make the NHL. I wanted to play hockey. When I watched as a kid, I didn't necessarily care who won or lost, I wouldn't say. I just liked watching the players, the goalies especially, trying to duplicate a lot of the things they do. Patrick Waugh was a big one that I liked watching, Marty Brodeur. So I liked goalies, individual goalies, more than teams necessarily. So I never really had a team. Toronto would be it by association, like I said, because my dad was such a fan. And my first game that I ever went to was a Leafs game. But I just kind of liked watching the goalies, and I knew from a pretty early age that I wanted to do that, and that was kind of my motivation for watching hockey was to learn from the greats, I guess, and try to mimic some of the things that they did.
Was Patrick Waugh your guy growing up?
Yeah, he was one of them for sure. Yeah, Patrick Waugh and Marty Brodeur were probably my two favorites. I liked Eddie Belfour a lot too. But I like Patrick Waugh's intensity, his competitiveness. I've always been a pretty competitive guy myself, so I felt like that was something that I could kind of relate to. And obviously, his accomplishments, his greatness, really. He's one of the best in history. So he was definitely a guy that I watched a lot when I was young. I had the poster in my room when he was on the Avalanche with those black and silver Coho pads. And those sweet Avalanche jerseys, the color combination was pretty sick back then, and the pads looked great. So that's like the one poster that I remember having as a kid. So he was probably the number one guy for me. Yeah,
he's an icon, swagger.
He's an icon. Yeah,
style. I don't know if you saw the clip, but there was a clip the other day. He's playing with his grandkids, and the grandkids were asking him, "Grandpa, were you any good? Mom says you're better than Kelly Rudy." He's like, "Damn right, I was better than Kelly Rudy."
Yeah. Yeah, just like his competitiveness is what kind of separated him, at least for me as a fan. That's why I enjoyed watching him so much. He was so intense and so competitive, and like I said, I was kind of like that as a kid too. I was a very, very intense and competitive kid. So it was something that I felt like I could kind of relate to.
Has it changed much now? Like, as a kid, obviously you're idolizing these guys, the Brodeurs, the Belfours, the Waz, but obviously now playing in the NHL, is there like certain guys you see where you're like, wow, that guy's really good. I like to watch his game or take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and kind of the sampler's platter?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the game is constantly evolving, and for us goalies, it's constantly getting more and more difficult for a lot of reasons. The equipment, obviously they made the equipment smaller on us there, and they want more goals. So, by design, it's going to be harder for us goalies. So it's really important to try to adapt to that. I also think you're seeing a ton of guys from overseas that are coming in and really taking over the league. Like these Russian guys look great. So there's a lot to be learned from those guys. A lot of the Swedes for a long time were really good. The guys from Finland. I think there's something that you can take from pretty much anybody, and it goes for life too. Like anybody you meet on a day-to-day basis, there's something that they could teach you that you don't know, and that's the same thing in goaltending. Everyone has like their little tendencies that just kind of happened, organically in their development, and if you can pick those things out and maybe add a little piece of that into your game, you kind of become like a really well-rounded version of all the goalies that you watch, right? Especially when you're young. And you take little bits and pieces from everybody and you mix your own little things in there, and that kind of at the end of the day, that's your game in a nutshell. So I watch everybody. I'm a bit of a goalie enthusiast. I love hockey, as a sport in general. I like watching it, but I really like just watching the goalies, really. During a game, I'll usually just watch the goalies and what they're doing and try to pick up on little things, and I'll see something different, and that excites me. It's like that's sick. Like that's clever, or that's like really good game plan that he's got, or whatever the case may be. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about as a goalie. Yeah. I keep forgetting that you're a goalie and you can relate to some of this stuff, because sometimes I feel crazy talking to other people about this stuff, but.
Sometimes I forget I'm a goalie too. Makes you feel any better. Yeah. Is there a guy that stands out in your mind? Because I know exactly what you're talking about, whether it's like with Bob shivving down a stick to get his hand down lower to get better on the flop.
Like that, yeah.
Those little details with the skating patterns. I know Artur Silov's, his skating warm-ups, like some of the, I don't know how to describe it, like an articulating pivot, but without a T-push, shuffling over, little stuff like that. And I ask myself, can I do that? And if I can do that, is that functional? And you're one of the guys that actually inspired me with the soft seal. Like when RVH post-to-post flat, for those that maybe don't know, something that I absolutely could not do before I had surgery. And then seeing you do it, and then us talking about, the game's getting fast, it helps you just stay more neutral. And if you can be mobile in it, you cover more net, stuff, bad things happen, you'll still be somewhat okay. Like is there something that comes to mind for you where you're like, okay, I'm going to take that, or maybe I want to try that. That's a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
I mean, there's countless things, to be honest. Even from like the way that you tie down your chest protector, and that stuff you only get to see if you're playing with a guy, obviously, in the dressing room. But just like these tiny little things at this level, it's the tiny little things that give you the advantage. So, yeah, if I see a guy doing something that looks a little unorthodox or a little unordinary, I'll definitely like try it, or I'll ask him about it and see why they do it, and if it's going to give you an advantage, why not? Why not try it, and why not see if it works for you? I'm definitely not afraid to try almost anything. Some things won't work for me that work for other guys. But yeah, and then in terms of, strategy and technique and stuff too, you tend to watch the guys that are more your body type. Like I can't watch UC Saros play and be like, oh, I want to play like him, because he's just way more athletic than I am, and totally different body types and totally different style of play. So the guy like him or like Shesterkin, I watch them more and just like applaud them, and say like, I wish I could do that, but I can't. And then if I'm going to take something from my game, a lot of times it comes from a guy who's more, more similar to my body type. And like you said, stuff that I can actually implement, stuff that I can actually do, because there's guys that are far more athletic than I am and do things that I definitely could not get away with. So you gotta take that into account as well.
Is there a specific guy that comes to mind?
Well, Saros, like I just mentioned, is a big one. He's just his edges are crazy, but
like somebody like similar body type to you. But you're like,
similar to me. Sorry. Yeah, Vasi is a big one. He's a big guy too, like me, long limbs, and obviously one of the best goalies in the league. Hellebuck is one, big guy as well. Stu Skinner, I love the way Skinner plays. I really love the way Skinner plays, and he had a heck of a run there with the Oilers. Obviously, just barely coming up short, but he's a guy that I'm really impressed with.
We appreciate his mustache for a second. I know we're talking goaltending, but that mustache is outrageous. That's gotta be one of the better ones of all time.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look. I don't know if I've seen that, but
Feed a family of 5 with that thing.
oh yeah, just kudos to him for a heck of a run. Kudos to Bob for winning the cup. He deserved it. That guy's been one of the best goalies in the league for a long time. So that was awesome to get to see him finally get a cup there too. But yeah, I would say those are some of the guys, and there's some older guys too. Carey Price was always probably my favorite guy to watch, or my favorite guy to try to emulate. Just his, I don't even know how to describe it, his like efficiency of movement, I guess you could say, how smooth he was. That at his size he could be that fast and efficient. But it wasn't through like quick movements; it was through like smooth movements, and that was something that I really enjoyed watching, and that I tried to copy as much as I could.
Is there something specific with Carey Price though that comes to mind? Like I see him growing up, he's just amazing at everything. He's one of those like totally well-rounded guys. Is there something specific that comes to mind for you?
Well,
more than surface level.
I think his movement is definitely his strength, I would say. Big, strong, powerful dude, but also like I just mentioned, he was very smooth in his movements, and that just saves a lot of time when you're when you're out there. You don't have really, like, it's down to milliseconds at times, right? And it's down to moving as little as possible and getting to your spots as efficiently as possible. And I always thought he was great at that, just like really simplifying movement, being super efficient, but being also like powerful within that efficient movement, and just like no wasted movement, no wasted energy. And that obviously that's the name of the game.
What a shame his career got cut short though.
Yeah.
With the knee issues, and
goaltending is an unnatural movement. That type of external rotation or internal rotation, I guess you call it, to do the butterfly and the aviation stuff. It's definitely unnatural, and definitely can wreak havoc on the body for sure.
Well, do you want to get into that? Talk a little bit of hip surgery for a second?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
The presenting sponsor for today's show, the Daily Wire Plus. They have this incredible collection, the Jordan Peterson Mastering Life collection. They sponsored last week's show. They're back again. Seriously great watch. And if you just go to the Daily Wire Plus, you get their entire catalog of podcasts, whether it's my favorite right now is Matt Walsh's Am I a Racist? I love that one.
Haven't seen it yet. It's on my watch list.
It's the top of the list. Also, his What is a Woman is fantastic.
I've seen that one.
They got the Ben Shapiro show. They have so many shows on Daily Wire Plus. I highly recommend it. And we talked last week in depth about getting the most as a man, managing your marriage, managing relationships, negotiating the art of the deal. All that is in JP, Jordan Peterson's Mastering Life collection. Dave and I couldn't recommend it enough. We're so excited and so proud to have the Daily Wire Plus on the podcast. And right now, if you go to the link in the video description on the YouTube show, click on that link, use the code BIZKIT30, BIZKIT 30. You're going to get 30% off your subscription from the Daily Wire Plus. And again, thank you so much to them for joining the show, and we are so proud to have them on. You get the double done. I got single, and then I got single, which so I haven't talked about this publicly, but I got my second hip done about a month and a half ago at the time of recording the podcast. And I got to give you credit as well, because my surgeon, he was having a baby into the fall-ish, so I wanted to get it done after I got released from my team in Mississippi. Couldn't, because he's gone. And then he texts me like middle of April, hey man, I got a couple hours operating time, do you want this? And then like a sign of God, whether you believe it or not, you texted me 5 minutes later, dude, my ankle issues are solved. It's like a miracle. I'm like, this has got to be a sign, because I'm having the same issues. My ankle's hurting as I was reading your text in my mind. So thank you for putting me over the edge to get the other one done. But about you, though, so you get both the hips done. Can you kind of take me through the process of like what led you up to that?
I had dealt with hip pain going back as far as like Wilkes-Barre when I was there. So when I was like 20, 21. And it was manageable. It was manageable for a long time. It just got to a point where I was starting to mess up everything else. I was starting to get low back issues and starting to pull my groin a lot, starting to get a lot of ankle stuff. And, it just became a point where, you try to get to the root of the problem, which in goaltending, I think, for the most part, tends to be the hips. That's kind of what steers the ship, I would say. That's probably the most in-demand part of the body, playing goal. So I just figured it was time to, to get those fixed up and try to get a nice little reset. And I had a great experience with Dr. Kelly in New York. He seems to be one of the top. He's for sure one of the top guys in the world for doing this surgery. I've getting both of them done at the same time was definitely a lot early on for sure, but it definitely cut down my recovery time. I didn't think most people didn't think I'd play any games at all last year, and I was able to play a little bit at the end of the season on a conditioning stint. So that was a big goal of mine, and we definitely had to push it, but definitely felt nice to get that done and to play a couple of games at the end of the year. Doc Kelly's whole team and the team in Toronto, I had a great rehab experience, and now my hips haven't felt this good in a long, long time. So that was the goal, and that was the hope of getting the surgery done. And yes, like I said, it's starting to pay off now. I had it done in end of September, so I don't know where that takes us, 8-9 months, something like that, to this point. And it's starting to feel really, really good. So it has felt good for a while, but it's starting to feel really, really good. So I'm excited. I'm excited about how it's going to help me here going into the future.
Walk me through your experience, because I know what my experience was like.
Mm-hmm.
So you fly Toronto to New York. Christina comes with you.
Yeah.
Getting it done by Dr. Kelly. And
Yep.
then you go to the OR, the hospital, wherever it is. Take me through that from there.
Yeah, I just showed up at the hospital. I was one of the later times going in, so I couldn't eat all morning. That was like the worst part about it.
You drink water too?
What's that?
Any water or coffee?
I think they said I could have a little bit of water, but other than that, nothing. So that was the hardest part, because I'm not one of these guys that can like not eat breakfast. I get super like grumpy if I don't eat. And I didn't go into the hospital until like 1 o'clock, I think it was. So Christina and I just kind of went for a little walk and had a nice little morning at the hotel. Went to the hospital, got all checked in, got in my outfit, whatever you call that. They had to come in, they had to shave my legs, which was also kind of devastating.
Why is that?
I don't know, it just looked hilarious. And they only shaved like the top part, so like the bottom part was still super hairy, so it just looked hilarious.
You ever seen the 40-Year-Old Virgin, Steve Carell?
I've seen it a long time ago.
When they wax them?
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah, so they come in and shave your legs, which is an interesting experience. And then they start drawing. Doc Kelly comes in and draws on you wherever he's gonna, do the incisions or whatever, and then you walk into the room, into the operating room, and the last thing I remember is you put your legs up onto this like machine or whatever, and that's the last thing I remember. They must have they slipped your meds into the IV bag, I think, when you get in there, because there's no mask or nothing. I just passed out. So and then you wake up, whatever. I think for me, because they did both at the same time, so it was I guess what they told me is that they have to do one side and then fully clean their whole room and all the equipment and sanitize everything before they do the other side. So I think I was out for like 7 or 8 hours in total, I believe is what they said. And I woke up and you're just in the operating room, and a real funny thing that happened was that, so they give you an epidural too. So they give you a big needle in your low back that, numbs you from the waist down. And so Christina makes the joke that I had an epidural before she ever did. She had 2 natural births. So she likes to make fun of me for that, which is kind of funny. But so they come in afterwards and they go, wiggle your toes for me. And I couldn't. And I was like, whoa, well, what's going on here? And they were like, yeah, it's okay. It's just, the epidural hasn't worn off yet. And so, yeah, after that, it was, the first stretch was certainly the hardest. Having both done at the same time, it was, tough to walk. I was able to walk out of there the next day with 2 crutches and very slowly with a lot of help. But, yeah, never really needed a wheelchair or anything like that. And then just a lot of rest that first 12 or so days is a lot of rest. Crutches for, I want to say 4 or 5 weeks I was on crutches, and then slow increments after that. You kind of know the drill. And then, yeah, some of the big milestones were getting back on the ice for the first time was, I think, around 4 months post-surgery, just with like a tracksuit and skates and just kind of wheeling around out there.
I know you're sending me some clips. You going bar down,
yeah,
goalie skate.
Well, after such a long time, that was like exhilarating for me to get back on the ice, even just in a tracksuit. And I had like player gloves and a player stick and helmet with a visor, and I felt like I was playing forward out there. So I made the most of it. I had a lot of fun in that stretch for sure. That's like the first big milestone, and then I think I did that for a month, 4 weeks in a tracksuit, and then I was able to put my gear on around 5 months post-surgery. And I think I got these timelines right. It all kind of blurred into one big period of time. But putting the gear on was the next milestone. But you stand up for, I think, 3 weeks or something like that. So full gear, but no butterfly, no pucks, anything like that. You're just skating for 3 weeks or so. And then I was able to try butterfly for the first time. I think I was around like 5.5 months, maybe, something like that. Slowly ramp up from there, start taking shots, start dropping with some force, start trying the RVH. The RVH was the last thing I did.
The one thing that I'm having a hard time coming to terms with, at least like from hearing your stories, I know just having one hip done at a time, it was really hard those first 2-3 days after, where I'm putting maybe like 20% of the weight on the one leg and I'm very skeptical of it. But the other leg was 100%. So like all my weight goes on that one. That really kind of drove my rehab process. But for you not having that, I don't even know where to begin on that or like what that would feel like. But dude, 4 weeks is not bad.
Yeah, it's it was definitely not a great feeling as a 29-year-old man to be that kind of sedentary, I guess, for the first little bit. But in the grand scheme of things, it's definitely an advantage to get them both done at the same time, and in terms of timeline. And I think it probably helps you heal a little bit more down the middle too. You're not leaning into one leg or the other, because both sides are just as bad. So I think it helped in that respect as well. And my rehab process, I don't think could have gone any better with the team I had around me, Richie and Paul and Artie in Toronto. It's like I said earlier, it's just like they nailed it with the crew that they have there in Toronto. And I'm certainly not the only one to say that too. Those guys are the best. So I had a great rehab process and was able to play a couple games there, which was super exciting. Because I didn't really think I would be able to, and yeah, here we are now. I'm feeling, my hips haven't felt this good in a long, long time. So I'm glad I pulled the trigger and got it done.
Would you agree with this statement that once you get it done, the only regret you end up having is that you wish you did it sooner because it feels so good?
It's tough. When you're trying to navigate an NHL career, it's tough to find the right time to do something like that. You never want to take too much time off at the wrong time. So that was definitely part of it. So do I wish I did it sooner? For my own quality of life, yeah. But as far as my career went, I don't know if there was a better time to do it. If you do it at the wrong time, it can really hinder your career. And if those prime like money making years, if you do it at the wrong time, you can take yourself out of it. Just at the worst time. So I don't know. I think I'm a believer in everything happens for a reason, and I think the timing worked out really well.
Well, Well, I know, like in our conversations, you'd mentioned some other guys that had gone through the same surgery, like a Laurent Brossois or like a Thatcher Demko, kind of giving you a little bit of guidance with that as well.
Yeah, I didn't talk to either of those guys, but I talked to a couple guys who did have it done, and I talked to my trainer Adam Francilia. He's out of Kelowna, and he's a big, he's kind of the goalie guru of training, and he has a lot of clients, and he knows both of those guys well, and so he was kind of involved in a lot of rehabs for the surgery, and he was a huge resource to have for me. Also having, Doc Kelly and his team, like they are literally the top of the food chain in terms of this surgery, and he's got his own team that deals with specifically hip rehab. So it's not like just a regular rehab therapist. It's like it's very specific. It's very hip focused, and they obviously do a heck of a job. So I was very, very fortunate, and to this day feel very thankful to have had, a guy like Doc Kelly be able to do the procedure, and to have the people around me that I did, both Doc Kelly's team and the Leafs guys. I couldn't have been in better hands. So to this day, and forever, we'll be thankful for that.
And so if you back it up though, so the ankle issues you were having, the groin issues, all that stuff, linked back to the hips?
Well, it's impossible to prove that. But yeah, I think when your hips stop working properly, you compensate in other areas for sure. So, I think that was probably something of what was going on. But again, I don't know anything, so I'm not smart enough to know anything about that. I just knew that, I was just getting hurt too much, and on plays that I felt like I shouldn't really be getting hurt on, and felt like it had something to do with like alignment or obviously the fact that I was compensating for the pain in my hips elsewhere. And so, yeah, just decided to finally pull the trigger and get it done. Happy I did.
Because I found through my experience, getting the first hip done, I remember like when I was kind of sobering up in the operating room, keep in mind I'm under a lot of drugs at the time, kind of sedated. My doc says, you're going to start noticing some other things on the other side start to change and maybe some issues. And I'm thinking at the time, dude, I just got my first hip done. You're crazy, right? And then fast forward 5-6 months, the ankle issues started happening. I text you, and because you're the ankle doctor, you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly.
This was after your first surgery?
After the first one, yeah. Because on the first side, so I had my right hip done, I had so many groin and knee issues. And when the groin issues stopped, it just went all to the knee.
Was it on your right side or on your left side? The groin and knee issues?
On the right side.
On the same side as your surgery?
So up until January of 23, I never had an issue on my left side ever for anything. Right. Every injury was always on my right side. So get the hip done, and then all of a sudden my left ankle is killing me. And that one little spot kind of on the side, like the talus that you kind of helped me out with, any RVH integrations, sometimes going into a butterfly, you get too much far forward, starting to feel it. And then fast forward, we're at the point where I had to completely get rid of RVH integrations in practice, which was inspired by you. Just go boot on post, save some reps, and then save the actual hinging for games.
Right.
And then fast forward to the surgery now, where I've gotten the other side done. Those same ankle issues are gone. Keep in mind, I haven't skated yet, but those day-to-day same issues and same like feeling it that you described to me, that's gone. And maybe I can throw some video on the video version of the show too. My therapist, my physio guy, was taking me through a demonstration of how the internal rotation at the hip maxes out. So then the knee has to internally rotate, which is very unnatural. And then the ankle goes. And then at some point we're maxed out and something has to take the strain.
Yeah.
Think of almost like the Titanic kind of splitting in half.
Right. And well, that RVH, that's probably, I would say, the hardest move that we do in goaltending. Or the double RVH is probably the hardest, or whatever you call that. What do you call it? The soft
seal, yeah.
Soft seal. Yeah, there's different kind of names for all this stuff, but when you're in the RVH, like your ankle, your knee, and your hip are cranked, right? So when your hip is not going, then you got to cover that hole somehow, right? So if your hip's not doing it, then your knee is going to take on the burden, or your ankle. So yeah, for me I had a lot of ankle issues coming from it, because in that RVH, my hip would only go so far, and then you guys still got to cover that hole. Whatever you got to do to cover that hole, you got to cover that hole. And because my hip wasn't doing it, the rest of it, my ankle kind of started taking the brunt of it. And then I had a pretty decently bad groin tear on my left side. My right side was always the worst of the two hips, but they're both, both relatively painful. So I've been skating now. I guess that first skate with the full gear 5 months post would have been like February or something like that. So I skated a bunch at the end of the year and been skating a bunch this summer. As of now, no issues. And we're looking to keep that going.
Did you end up playing around with gear a little bit to try to accommodate some of your physical needs before the surgery?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Went looser with my, the toe ties. Try to give my ankle a little bit more room to move, and so it wasn't getting cranked upwards by that toe tie. I tried that. I tried going looser on my skates, which didn't really help. I tried going tighter on my skates as well, which didn't really help. I tried a lot of stuff.
Changed brands of gear as well?
I changed brands a long time ago, yeah, probably like 4 or 5 years ago now, and that didn't really have anything to do with my hips. It was just more of like the seal. That was like a tactical thing, not a health thing.
Like the Vaughn pads were just kind of like twisting up at the thigh rise a little bit too much?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And just when I tried the Trues, they were just so, the seal was so clean on the ice and on the post. It just felt more stable. So that when I switched gear, that was all like a tactical thing, technique type of thing.
Sexy set of gear too. Like the True stuff looks really.
It looks nice. I find it looks big too. Like it looks bigger than some of the other pads, even where they are the same size. It just looks bigger, which I think is
wider, more boxy.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, which I think definitely doesn't hurt.
Was there a specific reason though that kind of led you to changing though? Like we're talking about like the soft seal, or not the soft seal, the thigh rise twisting up. But as far as the gloves, the rest of your gear, is there any like moment that led you to say, okay, like I want to switch brands, I want to try some new stuff out?
Yeah, I don't really know what it was that. I think it was because I saw like the whole league was starting to switch to Trues. This was like 4 or 5 years ago now. I just saw like so many guys starting to switch over, and I was just kind of like, what's the hype about, sort of thing. And so I gave it a shot, and like right away, as soon as I tried the Trues on, like the balance and like the seal that I had, it just felt way more stable, way less rocky. And that was it. Only took really one time wearing them to notice how good they were. And obviously that's, I guess, why I was late to the party, but that's why the whole league had already basically switched to True, or the majority of the league is now wearing True, I think.
I think you're pretty cutting edge though with the chest protector hack. So I had the Hyperlite 1 chest protector, and because I'd hang it and it would get so flat, and I couldn't figure out why. Because
about the drying thing.
Yeah. So I had the Hyperlite 1 chest protector, super flat, because I was hanging it all season long in the stall. And then I always ask myself, why do guys that have the same chest protector, why does it look bigger? And then I know yours looks almost like a caveman. I know you have bigger shoulders, but it looks really big. And a lot of other guys too, like a Bob, like a Vasi, like even a Carey Price. And I remember I texted you one day, I'm like, how are you doing that? Because we have the same stuff. Like yours is smaller than mine, but looks bigger. And then you mentioned sit it, scrunch it down, never hang it.
Yeah, I like a little like depth to it. They get real iffy when you're adding any like size to it this way. But I like to have a little depth to it so that when it hits you in the chest, there's like a little like cushion type of feel. It's because when it's just flat on your chest, I feel like it bounces off a lot. You can't control rebounds as much. So I definitely don't mess around with anything like this way or this way, because they get real iffy about that. They're real serious about that. But I always wanted to have, and it was kind of watching Carey Price was where I kind of saw. He just looked like his chesty like came out a lot. And so when it would hit him, it would just like absorb and just stick to him. And so I just started, when I let my gear dry, I just like squish it underneath like the bench. If it's like a visitor's locker room, you stick it underneath the bench. If you hang it like on a hanger, it just falls flat, right? And it dries flat. And then like the way that your gear dries is kind of like the shape that it carries. So I just started like kind of scrunching it down and like compressing it like that. And then it dries a little bit, like puffing out a little bit. And again, I'm not messing with anything this way or this way. But I like having that little cushion type of feel when pucks hit you in the chest, so they're not bouncing out. they're sticking to you a little bit more. And that was something I picked up. I just saw Carey Price's chest. He was like that. It sat like super far off his chest, and I figured that would. I mean, it definitely helps to absorb some of those rebounds.
I think it helps you move better too, because I found like when you strap it like real tight to the ribs, you're kind of like almost like hunched like together. Like you can't really move. But then I found at least like loosening up the straps a bit, and then the scrunching technique, like you mentioned, you get those mobility like in the lower abdomen, and like things aren't scrunching up, they're not getting tight, and you can kind of like move around almost like a snake. I found.
Yeah.
So that goes full credit to you.
Yeah, you move kind of like inside your chest as opposed to like moving with you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a little bit more freedom to move in there. Yeah.
I think Henrik Lundqvist had a quote. He said, the gear should play to your game, not you playing to the gear. And that's like textbook, just like that.
Yeah. That's why I'm constantly, messing with new stuff or trying new sticks or new skates or, 2-piece versus 1-piece skates. And there's always new technology coming out, right? All these new companies are trying to get that cutting edge. And most of it, I won't say most of it, but some of it can be a little gimmicky and a little bit, kind of just like an advertising gimmick. But some of it definitely does work too. That's why, you got to find the right gear that fits your game the most. Like I tried the 2-piece skates, and I felt like for a guy my size, like it had me sitting a little bit too far pitched to my toes. And so the first time I wear them, I remember I stepped on the ice and I almost face planted because my whole weight was like so far pitched forward that I wasn't used to, that I went like first step on the ice, I kind of went like that. And so I went back to the 2-piece because they sit a little bit more flat, a little bit more balanced. Like for a big guy like me, I can't be off balance because a bigger guy takes longer to get back to balance before you move. Maybe a smaller guy might be able to get away with it, like a guy that's super athletic, but not me. So that's why your gear has to be dialed, because you like at this level it comes down to milliseconds out there, and so you're trying to pick out milliseconds here and there to maybe create a quarter of a second, because that's a big a quarter of a second is huge in goaltending. So if you can find all these little milliseconds here with the rest of your gear and it all adds up to a quarter of a second, let's say, that's huge. That's huge.
Kind of give me deja vu. They tell me that experience, because when I tried the 2-piece skates the first time, exact same thing. Fall forward on your face, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then a little bit of a different way to the same result, but I ended up throwing my cowlings back on the 2-piece skates. I know it's more like a dinosaur move because the cowlings have been long gone for a while.
Cowlings, yeah.
But because they're neutral pitch, the Bauer ones, and then that's how I got kind of the same feel. And then because I got the Connect skates, which I love the hinge on that, but then you put the cowlings on, so you get like a neutral hinge, as opposed to being so like tip forward, like you mentioned.
Yeah. For a bigger guy, I think being balanced is key. Because especially for me, I got super long limbs. So I'm tall, but I'm like all legs. Like I have pretty short torso, and super long arms too. So and that's good and bad. It takes up a lot of space, but when your arms, when your center of balance or your center of gravity is so far away from your midline, having such long limbs, it just takes longer to get it back before you go that way. So balance for a big guy, balance is like probably one of the biggest factors in making sure that you can get to where you want to go in a timely manner.
Well, it's something we don't naturally have either. It's hard to get because we're so big.
Right.
As opposed to like a UC Saros or a Halak or I think Sturkin's 6 feet, right? Smaller guy.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. But however tall he is, he's a freak athlete, and unbelievable puck handler too. I love watching Sturkin make breakout passes over 3 guys' heads. He's fun to watch for sure.
You have a favorite setup, like a favorite personal setup?
Oh, that's a good question.
Crispiest, best style you've had?
Oh, that I've had.
Yeah, we'll get to the all-time in a second, but your personal one.
Well, I'm gonna go way back, and it's probably one that nobody's ever seen. There might be a couple pictures, but when I was like 11 and 12, I want to say, I had the spider web, the Vaughn black and white spider web pads, and those were pretty epic. I still remember them to this day. I don't even know if I have a picture of me in them. It was so long ago. But to be honest, that was probably my favorite. It was like when the pads were together, it was the full spider web. It was black pad with a white web on it. and I had the matching glove and blocker too. And it was just like, it was just at our local sporting goods store, and definitely wasn't custom or anything. I wasn't getting custom gear or anything like that. It was just the only one that they had that fit me. But it was pretty sick. I liked it a lot. In my pro career, I've kind of gone pretty basic. I had some cool ones in the Sioux, where I went with a lot of color. And Team North America, when I played Team North America, I went all black with some silver and some orange. So yeah, some of the outdoor games too, like some of the one-off games, I'll maybe go a little bit more bold with it. I went. My favorite whole kit, I guess you could say, was the outdoor game that we had when I was in Pittsburgh. We played at Heinz Field. We had the almost all yellow jerseys with black on the arms, and I went full black pads and a black helmet with the yellow stripe, and I wore the eye black like the football guys do. And that was probably my favorite whole kit, jersey included, because I really liked that jersey that we wore.
You have an all-time favorite setup, not your own?
Probably that one poster that I had at Patrick Waugh with the purple and the silver and the black cohos and those old Avalanche jerseys. That would probably be.
You're talking the purple at the Colorado jersey, the third one?
Just the purple. I don't know. I think it was their home jersey at the time. I don't know if home was white or dark at that time, but it was just purple and blue, the old Avalanche logo. They had some silver on it, and it was just the pads that I loved, those coho pads back in the day. I used to like the old Heaton pads too, Brodeur and Belfour both wore them. Those looked pretty nice, but my favorite was probably, and it's all nostalgia because I had the poster in my room, but that Patrick Waugh coho set's probably my favorite all time.
I think you might hate my all-time favorite, Trevor Kidd checkerboard.
Yeah, those are sweet too.
Those are dirty.
Those are pretty cool too.
The Leafs ones were nice. I really like the Carolina ones.
Yeah.
They had the black patch and the red patch.
Yeah.
Those were, and then the long hair coming out the back.
Yeah.
The dragon mask.
Yeah, that guy had good style for sure.
Manitoba legend.
Oh yeah, is he from Winnipeg?
He's Dugald. Eddie Belfour's from Carman. Trevor Kidd's from Dugald.
Okay.
Manitoba boy. Rock the checkerboard. And then the flame pads in Calgary that I think Eddie Lack paid tribute to at one point in time. But
I remember those too. Yeah.
Style legend.
Yeah.
Those are some really.
I like when guys get creative with it. I don't know. I like to stay pretty. I like the way white pads look too. I'm one of those boring guys that likes. I like the way an all white pad looks, especially when they're new. Mm-hmm. And I just think they look huge and they look crisp and clean. And I don't know. When I think of goalie pads, I just think of all white for some reason. I really like that look, but. Yeah, and nowadays, in my pro career, I'm usually just mostly white with a little bit of whatever team colors that I'm playing for. But I like how some guys get a little bold with it. I just couldn't pull it off.
And then it comes to mind that you really like right now that's kind of out there?
Right now?
Bold setups that you like.
I don't know. I'm trying to think who has cool ones. I like it when guys do the home and away setups, the all white at home and the all whatever color on the road, whether it's all black or somebody had all blue, I think, with the Leafs a few years ago. Was it Mrazek maybe? I can't remember who it was, but that all blue with the Leafs, whoever that was, that looked pretty sweet because that blue is tough to beat, and those jerseys there's no better jersey in sports if you ask me.
I think the last dark blue Leaf setup would have been Felix Potvin.
Yeah, you sure Mrazek didn't have blues when he was here?
Before Mrazek.
So before that.
Actually, no, Eddie Belfour for a period had the blue base CCM Heatons and then went back to the white base.
Yeah.
Curtis Joseph, Bauer Reactors.
Yeah, the reactors were pretty sweet too.
Reactor 4s.
Yeah.
Think you could ever rock a Leafs checkerboard? The
checkerboard?
Yeah. Too much for you?
I would do it in tribute. But if my personal choice, I can't steal. That's Trevor Kidd's thing. I can't steal another man's thing. So
I don't know, and you don't have to comment on this, but I remember Garrett Sparks. He did the checkerboard as well for the Leafs.
Oh, did he?
This would have been 15, 16.
Okay.
And then Trevor Kidd came to one of the games and met him after the game, and I think he pretended like he didn't know who he was, but it's where'd you get the checkerboard design from, dude? It's one of the greatest setups of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. The Leafs logo on the blue, and it's crisp, real crisp.
Yeah. That was cool. I remember Trevor Kidd's back in the day. That's his name, right? Trevor Kidd?
Trevor Kidd, yeah.
Yeah.
Kidd.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I got it right. Make sure I wasn't saying the wrong name.
Well, Thunder Bay is not too far from Winnipeg, so you can basically put yourself in that category as well.
Yeah. No, those were sweet pads. For sure.
We get a podcast exclusive. If you're ever looking for a tribute setup and Drew's doing customs, you do a checkerboard?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe for like if I ever get in an outdoor game or something like that. Ooh. Yeah, we'll see. Options open.
Wouldn't that be something? You got to do the full mask too with the dragon. Maybe get like a fake mullet, little salad cone at the back.
Yeah, that would be wild.
All you can eat buffet lettuce at the back.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but one of the things I dislike the most is when guys do like the helmets with the ears painted on, like the vintage ones with the ears painted on. I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me. I don't know why.
Just like it's odd?
Yeah, it just doesn't look good. Like with an ear painted on your helmet? I don't know. I just never liked it.
I feel like guys either do the hair and the ear with the vintage mask, or a lot of the Dave Art guys do like the monster with the vintage mask, like the Pecorine style, or a couple guys like that.
Yeah.
They're really, I like them personally.
I just don't think I would probably never paint an ear on my helmet myself, but I just can't pull it off. That's probably why I don't like it.
Because you don't have the mullet anymore. If you had the mullet, it would go a lot better. It would kind of flow at the back.
Yeah, I used to have hair like down to here.
Well, I got it in the notes. We'll get to that.
Oh,
don't worry. When was the first goalie coach that you had? Like, when did you have your first goalie coach?
I mean, so I had a goalie coach, Dave McKenzie. He was a friend of my dad's. He was actually like a Crown prosecutor, a Crown attorney, I guess you call it. And my dad was a lawyer and a defense lawyer in his early days. So the two of them kind of were like rivals in the courtroom, but friends outside of it. And I was playing for the West Fort Rangers, so he would have been my first like real goalie coach. Played for a team called the West Fort Rangers when I was 9 years old, and my mom was like, he needs like some guidance, like he needs somebody out there who knows what they're doing, because I knew nothing, and my dad played a little bit of hockey. My mom knew nothing about hockey, but my dad knew nothing about goaltending, so my mom was like, we got to find him a coach. And Dave, I guess, had played like he was a pickup goalie or something like that. And so Dave McKenzie would have been, I guess, my first official coach. And then I had a coach, Rick Evoy, who recently passed away actually a couple months ago. But he was one of the more influential figures for me in my really early ages, 11 to 13 or 10 to 13, I guess, in that kind of stage. He was my first like AAA goalie coach, and I was actually pretty good friends with his grandson, still am, he was the first guy who, and no offense to Dave McKenzie at all, but Dave kind of was just like a step in to try to like support me and help me, but Rick was the first guy who really gave me like some foundational stuff in terms of goaltending and life in general as well. I remember he had these 10 rules that he printed out for me that I put in my stall every day, and I had to memorize the 10 rules.
You need a good pair of underwear to keep cool, compartmentalized.
What a transition.
Comfortable, especially if you're the goalie for the Ottawa Senators. You're going to be like, holy shit, we got no back checking tonight. I'm going to put my dick in my balls, my cannolis, my boccacinis, and a nice pair of sheath underwear. Here's why. They have an incredible dual pouch technology. It's a separated compartment to put all your manly parts where they need to go so they're not touching, sticking to the side of your leg. You don't have to like peel it off the side of your leg. It's compartmentalized, it's cool, it's comfortable with the bamboo mesh. And right now, sheath underwear, you go to the link in the video description. Use the code BISKIT69. We changed it back to the old code, by the way. It's BIZKIT 69, BISKIT69. We'll get you 20% off the greatest pair of underwear money has ever bought. And if you're tired of your father being disappointed in you like mine is, get a pair of sheath underwear and he will be proud of you once again.
And ladies, there's stuff for you there too, so don't think that you're being shut out on this one.
What are they?
I'm gonna keep that to myself between Rick and I. May he rest in peace. He was very, like I said, very influential figure for me, and it's just kind of a special thing that I'll keep to myself. But so he was very important to me, and then John Elkin as well. Still to this day. John is probably, he for sure is the most influential person in my hockey career, apart from my mom. driving me to practice, and my family supporting me through all of that. Apart from all that stuff, apart from the family side, John is by far the most influential guy to my hockey career. I started going to his camps when I was probably 11 or 10 maybe, here in Toronto, and I've just been kind of working with him ever since. He was my goalie coach in the Sioux briefly. He was here in Toronto last year briefly in kind of like an advisory role. But every summer, every off season, I've been working with him my entire career. He knows my game and myself better than probably anybody in hockey for sure. Other than my family, he knows me better than anyone. So he is. He was and still to this day, as I skated with him this morning. He definitely is the most influential coach that I've had.
Like, what age did you start working with him though?
So I went to his camp, like I said, when I was 10. He has like a summer camp. He's still doing it now.
But like when you're like one-on-one working with him?
One-on-one, probably started one-on-one when I was like 15, the year before I got drafted to the OHL, I would say.
And you driving from Thunder Bay to Toronto to work with him?
I would fly for like 2 weeks. My dad would come stay with me. We would stay at my uncle's place out in Etobicoke, and I would go to his camp for at least 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks, and then so we did that right from 10 years old. And at first I was just in the camp, and then when I got to a certain level, and when I was trying to get drafted, started doing like one-on-ones or one-on-twos. I would skate with another guy usually. And then, even like I said this morning, I skated with John and a couple of shooters. So, John's been, it'd be hard to put into words how influential he's been for my career, for sure.
John is the man?
John is the man, yeah. Have you met John?
I haven't, not yet.
No?
Almost the other day, but that wake-up call was a little bit too much for me in Brampton.
Yeah. We're skating early right now. But he's the definition of the man. He's influential in my life outside of hockey as well. And
also on my own personal note, I think he's like the original goalie coach, because I don't remember anybody posting like promo goalie coaching videos before him. I remember some of the earliest YouTube goalie videos was John Elkin, the School of Goaltending. This would have been like 08, 09, maybe 2010.
Yeah, I remember he had the videos. I used to watch the Gold in the Net videos back in the day. Do you know those?
Zach Sikich, I think. He had the 4-part DVDs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the guy's name, but yeah, Gold in the Net I used to watch. I used to go to Rick St. Croix's goalie school a little bit as well.
Winnipeg legend.
Yeah, is he from Winnipeg?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know he did like Fort Francis and all these little northern towns, Thunder Bay, he would come. So I would do that whenever he would roll into town. That's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like your game is kind of this combination of so many things, right? Like there's definitely some Rick St. Croix somewhere in there, even though it was a long, long time ago. And then Dave McKenzie, Rick Evoy, John Elkin, like all these guys have had so much influence on me, and and me as a person too. Like the person who I am is influenced a lot by those guys too. So big shout outs to all those guys, and to all hockey coaches, especially for young kids, because they are incredibly influential in a kid's life. I know they were for me. So.
And also Rick St. Croix, I don't know of anybody else at 7 years old that's thrown on full gear doing butterflies and T-pushes at his own camps. Like most goalie coaches aren't throwing on full gear after 30.
Yeah.
This dude's 70 some odd years old, cranking them out, maybe not as fast as he once was, but man, mad respect to Rick St. Croix.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a legend.
Where does Mike Smith come into the picture for you though?
Mike Smith? So Mike Smith was one of those guys who, like I mentioned, I would skate with. It'd be like a 1-on-2 with John. Mike Smith was a guy that I started skating with at a fairly young age. I had to get to a certain level before I was allowed on the ice with him, because he's a little bit older than me, and he was always kind of the guy that at John's camps, you'd have like an ice session in the morning, and then like a dry land session, and lunch. And at lunch at his camps, that's when he would skate with his pro guys. And so Mike Smith was the big guy at the time, and I just remember eating my lunch kind of as quickly as I could so I can get out into the stands and watch Mike Smith go to work at practice. And eventually, I studied him every time I was up in those stands, and eventually I got on the ice with him. And especially toward the end of his career and the start of mine, we were skating together pretty much every summer and training together a lot as well. And he's a guy that I got to watch a lot and just watch kind of how he operates and the shape that he kept himself in. Like his last year he was 40, I believe, right, when playing in the league, and like shredded as ever, always in like unbelievable shape, super strong, super fast, freak athlete, and just a guy that kind of paved the way for me, showed me kind of what it takes to be a pro.
One of my personal favorites as well.
Mike Smith, yeah.
Yeah, dude, so flashy, good style, the big glove saves, great masks.
Yeah.
Big playoff performer too. I know a lot of people disagree with me. I always found that when it came to playoffs with the Coyotes or even with the Oilers, like you needed a big save, Mike Smith gave it to you. Yeah. But when you're trying to shovel in your lunch to try to go watch him, what age is this roughly?
When I was watching him at lunchtime, that was probably when I was like between 13 and 15, I would say.
And you're just glued to the ice watching him.
Yeah. No, I would. I think they'd be on for like an hour, 15 minutes, and I would push it right to the very end before I needed time, because we would go on when he was done with the rest of the camp. Mm-hmm. And I just remember I would like push it right to the very last second before I started to get dressed, so I could watch him. And there were some other guys too, but he was the one that kind of stood out. He was definitely the best one and the biggest name, and he was always very kind with his time when we were young kids as well. The way he would come over and say hi and sign autographs and whatever the case may be. I think at that time, taking pictures was not much of a thing, if I'm remembering correctly, because I don't remember ever getting a picture with him at that age. But I remember he signed something for me, and I just remembered my biggest thought watching him was, man, I got a long way to go. Like, this guy's super good, and I am not super good, and I got a long way to go. So he was a big inspiration for me.
Was there something that stood out where you're seeing this and you're thinking, wow, he is so elite at this, I got a ways to go?
Just his, he had great hands. Like he would play super deep and get away with it because his hands were so good. And his puck handling too. He would do some puck handling drills, and he was probably one of the best in history at puck handling. And when I would watch him, like, I remember he would shoot pucks down the ice. Like Johnny, we still do this drill now where it's like a rim drill where you got to look at Johnny and he'll tell you where he wants you to put it, like whether it's a rim or a pass, or like at the end he always gives you one in the glove and you try to score a goal. And I remember watching Mike Smith do that, and he was like in the air putting it like in the top half of the net. And I was like, whoa, like that is crazy. I didn't even think that was possible at that age. And so, yeah, he helped me a lot with puck handling. A lot of the puck handling drills that we would do. I was always a pretty dog shit puck handler for a long time early on in my career, especially like in junior. I would just get the puck and be like Bambi back there, like deer in the headlights. And both Mike Smith and actually Marty Turco, I spent a little time with in the Sioux too, and those guys were huge for me and helping to improve my puck handling to where I can get the job done now. I'm not going to be Igor Shesterkin throwing saucers to the far blue, but I just keep it simple, but I can definitely get the job done now, and that's credit to Mike Smith, John Elkin, and Marty Turco helped me a lot too.
There's a video a couple of years ago, like more towards the end of Mike's career, where for like morning skate, he'd be stopping pucks behind the net and then firing them up to try and hit the Jumbotron. And I don't know if this was like a regular thing or just a one-off, but I remember like every time he'd glove it, throw it down, hit the Jumbotron, glove it, throw it down, hit the Jumbotron. And the strength and the skill to be able to hit that shot, I mean, like, you know how high the Jumbotrons are. They're super high up.
Yeah.
And this guy's just launching bombs.
Yeah.
So talented.
Yeah, I'd never seen a guy who could shoot the puck like him as a goalie. He could sling it like I said, all the way down the ice and hit the top half of the net, which was pretty crazy. Do
you know what he's doing nowadays?
I don't know. I know he's a guy. He likes to stay busy, so I'm sure he's doing a lot. He's got 4 young kids too, so I'm sure they're keeping him busy. And probably, I think like most guys when they retire, is they start taking the dad role pretty seriously and getting involved in the kid stuff. So I would imagine, I haven't talked to him in a long time, and that reminds me, I'll probably reach out to him here soon. So thank you for reminding me to do that.
No problem.
But yeah, I would imagine he's enjoying the family life and just really getting involved in the whole dad thing.
You want to talk a little bit about that mullet for a second?
About my hair?
Your mullet 2012, dude.
We don't need to talk about that.
I might throw some pictures up on the video version if I can find them.
Oh my God,
man,
yeah.
That's some salad right there.
Yeah, that was the thing back then, was the flow, they used to call it. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I was a pretty funny looking kid, but still am a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what I was thinking with that. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
I think as a defenseman, it looks good when you're cruising down the wing and you got the flow kind of
it's flowing out the back. Yeah,
the flow flowing. But as a goalie, you're not really getting that kind of momentum. And unless you're Trevor Kidd and all in 1998 with the Hurricanes.
Right. Yeah, you could be right.
There's not many guys that can pull that off. Although Smitty had some really, really good. He had a mullet actually towards the end of his career.
Yeah, Smitty had some long hair at times, but he had like that long kind of curly hair, which was great. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I was young, and I don't know what I was thinking with that.
I liked it. I can't talk. I had a mullet down to here like 2 years ago, dude.
No way.
Oh yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
When I was playing in Sweden, the guys would refer to it as my beaver tail in like a Swedish accent. Your beaver tails are hanging out, because it'd be down to here, and I'd be just in the net. Sometimes the guys would come behind the net and they'd like pop up my hair like that.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on back here? Yeah. Good times. But
Yeah.
do you have a favorite rink to play in the NHL?
Probably MSG, I would say. Madison Square Garden in New York City. The Bell Center I like a lot too in Montreal. But Madison Square Garden just has this aura to it. I thought it was cool the first time I went there too, how the arena is on, I believe it's the 6th floor, I want to say, of the building, which is, I want to say it's the only rink where you go up when you get in the doors to get to the ice. And the roof there is beautiful. The atmosphere in there, it's just like, you couldn't, even if you tried to rebuild that today, you wouldn't get the same kind of character. So, and New York just has such a cool aura about it as a city in general too. And MSG is kind of like the heart of it. Penn Station right there. Times Square not too far down the block. So I would say if I had to pick one, MSG would be the one.
What's your favorite perk of playing in the NHL?
The way that we travel, I would say, is probably the best thing about it. We stay at some great hotels. Like I said, we're very, very fortunate. Like, we get taken care of very, very well, especially here in Toronto. We stay at a lot of awesome hotels, and I'm a big travel kind of fan, I guess you could say, like travel junkie. And I've really only traveled for hockey in my life because I just haven't had time. But I love watching travel videos on YouTube, I guess you could call it, like airplanes and different hotels around the world and resorts and stuff like that. So I don't know, I kind of geek out about that sort of thing. So yeah, I would say that the way we travel is probably the biggest perk.
That's awesome. Shout out to the Fairmont, Winnipeg.
Yeah, the Fairmont, Winnipeg.
Fairmont, Winnipeg, yes sir.
Great spot.
I like that spot. Windiest corner in North America.
That's right, yeah.
What's your favorite perk outside of hockey of playing in the NHL? Like, favorite perk that you're granted?
I would say the best is that you have a little bit of influence, a little bit more influence than you would otherwise to help and support the causes that you find to be important. So you get to pick and choose what's important to you, and you have a little bit of a voice, not necessarily a huge one, but you get to use your position as an NHLer to be a role model and to support, advocate, push forward whatever kind of causes that you find near and dear to your heart. I would say that's definitely nice, because we all have things that are important to us, and it's nice to be able to support those things.
What's something near and dear to your heart?
Well, for me, a lot of it goes back to Thunder Bay, my hometown. So anything I could do around my hometown. I know I was involved with the animal shelter there for a long time. I did a big thing with, so my dad worked with I don't want to get too into the weeds because it's a little dark sometimes, so we don't have to put this part in. But yeah, so my dad worked with he did a lot of law work for like a child protection agency, and so I've done some work with them in the past. We had a massive donation when I was in Pittsburgh that was actually matched by a couple other groups, and we raised like well over $100,000 for this cause. And a lot of it for me is trying to get back to my hometown. It's a place that gets a bit of a bad rap at times, I think, but obviously a place that's very near and dear to my heart. And anything I can do to help there, I'll jump at the bit. So, anything that can help improve the lives of the people and and the overall feeling of the city of Thunder Bay, I'm all ears.
Beautiful city too. Shout out to Thunder Bay. They have a nice little tribute in the Union Station in Toronto. They got Fort William and Port Arthur on one side, written into the walls on the one side, and then actual Thunder Bay. Really? Yeah, really cool on the walls. And then right in the Lake Superior, Prince Arthur Hotel, beautiful spot there, right in the water. Oh yeah, Thunder Bay's wicked.
You know your stuff. Good for you.
One thing we haven't even talked about though is, so your 2 Stanley Cup runs. I want to talk about 2016. You come in, you go 9-2-1, 930 save percentage in the regular season. You come in as the backup. You take over for Jeff Zadkov, Game 3 against the Rangers in MSG, as you mentioned earlier. You knock out King Henrik, arguably the greatest Swede of all time to ever play in between the pipes. You knock out the Vezina winner, Hart Trophy nominee, Braden Holtby in 6. Calm, cool, and collected. Big Ben Bishop, he gets replaced by Vasi. You knock him out in 7 games. And then Jones for the cup. Like, you're coming in as a 21-year-old. Like, take me through like what's going through your mind in those experiences.
Not a lot, to be honest. It was such a whirlwind for me that I kind of just got wrapped up in it and just had great timing. Our team was phenomenal that year. We got hot at the right time, as a lot of teams do that end up winning the cup. And my timing just couldn't have been better. I think Flower had a concussion at that point, and that was the only reason why I was even there playing. Otherwise, I would have been down at Wilkes-Barre. That's why I played those last 9 games there at the end of the season, or whatever it was, 12 games. And ended up getting the call Game 3, like you said, in New York as a 21-year-old kid. My first playoff game, only a couple months after my first NHL game. And like I said, I just kind of got wrapped up in the excitement of all of it. And it even looking back at it now, it's kind of like a blur. I kind of blacked out for a couple months, just with all the excitement and all the pressure, all the nerves, everything that I was feeling. Kind of just like shut down for a couple months, and just was just insanely focused on trying to get the job done. And trying to stick around really as long as I could. And our team just went on an absolute tear, and we're able to get through some really tough opponents, and got it done there in 2016 in San Jose. And the blackout continued afterwards, and I don't really remember a whole lot about it. Like I said, it was just such a huge whirlwind for me. 21 years old. I had a good year in Wilkes-Barre, but I wasn't expecting anything like that to happen. So, just the timing was incredible, and what a run we had. Sure enjoyed it, and then, very, very fortunately, got to do it again the year after that in 2017.
I mean, like, to put it in perspective, to get a university degree is 4 years, and in less than 4 years, you went from being the guy with the mullet at the draft in 2012 to you're hoisting the mug as a 21-year-old, like to think about that, like you got that done sooner than someone gets a degree done in university. That's pretty impressive. It never been done before, especially on back-to-back years. Which is another question I got for you too is game one, you tear your hamstring in warm-ups against Columbus. I'm also curious what you're doing for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you come back from a torn hamstring and then you're ready to rock and roll for game 3 against the Senators. I was watching some of the highlights the other night, just like chopping up clips for the video version of the show, and cool as ice, I think Fleury gives up 4 goals, might have been three in a really short, rapid succession in the first period. Sullivan says, Muzz, go in there, and you're like, yep, all right. Calm, cool as a cucumber, and like the body language you exhibit now is the same stuff that I see in the video then, just, all right, just another day at the office is business. You gotta go make some saves, gonna go make some money, go win a mug. Like, it gives me chills just talking about it, because watching it and getting to know you personally, I get inspired just watching it, but like to talk about it out loud, like it's so cool to kind of like piece everything together and connect the dots on that. Like what's going through your mind in that situation?
After the hamstring injury I had?
After the hamstring injury, Sully gives you the nod and you're back in the mix.
Yeah, well, I think again, it was just, it came down to really fortunate timing for me. Fleury played unbelievable. I remember game 7 against Washington in the second round was the first time that I was back like on the bench. So that was the first time I was healthy enough to dress for a game. Fleury played unbelievable in the first round as well. Got us to the third round, and I just remember thinking, like at the time, we were down in the series, we were down big time in the game, and I just had nothing to lose. I just said, here we go. Let's go out and play. The game I believe was already 5-1 at the time, or maybe 4-0. So the game seemed like it may be out of reach, and as a goalie you can't score goals, so my goal wasn't to go in and win the game. My goal was just to go in and have fun, and it was my first game in a while, coming off of a torn hamstring. And I just thought to myself, I put in the work to get back from this injury, and I've had a great team around me. Our guys are, we can still get this done, but in that moment, especially in that particular game when I went in, I had nothing to lose, and so I was able to go on and play freely and felt really good, played well. We ended up losing, obviously, because we were down 5-1 or whatever it was. We lost that game, but then I got the call again the next game, and we won that one. Took that round to 7 games, and obviously Chris Kunitz scores the huge double OT winner to put us into the finals. And once that happened, we just had all the momentum in the world, because we just come back from being down in the series. And again, I was feeling good about myself. I was playing well and still felt like I had nothing to lose. So another instance of just really fortunate timing and a great team that gets hot at the right time. And good leadership, good coaches, just a great group, everybody coming together at the right time. And I was just, very, very fortunate to be a part of it.
On a personal note, so you're going to the Cup final, Nashville, which also I really appreciate at the start of every series. They would build a custom Pittsburgh Penguins car and then smash it in the parking lot. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Like the Blackhawks car and then the Blues car. It was really cool, I thought. But so game 1, game 2, handle them easily. And then game 3 and 4. I've never seen you talk about this on any interviews or whatnot. I want to play a little audio for you. And I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear this.
I think I know what's coming.
That changes. It's all your fault.
What goes through your mind? Yeah. Because what job on planet Earth are you doing in front of 20,000 people telling you while you're at the office you're doing a really bad job?
Yeah.
How do you compartmentalize that?
It's tough. I just remember being honestly just in awe of the volume of it, for one. It became, kind of a thing in its own right there. And I feel like my name being, 2 syllables, it just fit perfectly into that chant. And it was just it was so precise. They were just so on point with it. It sounded great. And it was so loud. And it wasn't off, like everyone was saying it all at the exact same time, and it was like it couldn't have been more like perfectly orchestrated. And I just remember sitting there after getting scored on, like, God damn, that's like kind of cool. Like it is a really cool experience to play in a building like that, and to hear fans cheering like that, and to hear everybody in unison saying the same thing. It was like a really cool experience. And then you're like, oh wait, they're telling me how bad I suck. And so yeah, I don't know. I was just, the fact that maybe that helped me. The fact that I was kind of in awe of it, and it was like a choir singing. It was like there's something beautiful about it to me, as weird as that sounds. And yeah, I remember being like, those 2 games didn't go very well, and we heard that chant a lot. I remember, and thankfully we were able to regroup and go back home and get the job done at home. And then coming back into that game 6, I believe it was, I was kind of like, there's one way to not hear that chant again, and that's to to not let in any goals. And so I was like, wouldn't that be nice if we were able to keep everybody quiet in there? And thankfully we were.
Is there any like technical adjustments that you're making? Because you're going from game 3 and 4 where, if I'm remembering correctly, they were targeting your glove a lot, and then fast forward, shutout in game 5, game 6, they're targeting the glove again, and every single time you're making save, and then you finish with back-to-back shutouts. Like, what adjustments are you making there?
Yeah, so adjustments were minor, if anything. I think as a team, we just saw kind of what their game plan was going to be in games 3 and 4. I remember their team being very centered around the skill of their defensemen, and so their defensemen were creating a lot of the offense. So just picking up on that, being a little bit more aware of those guys, Yossi and guys like that, Ekholm, Ryan Ellis, Subban, seeing those guys trying to jump up in the play and looking for offense, and just trying to be more aware of it. So any adjustments you make are minor at that point in a series or in the playoffs. It's all very minor stuff that's going to get the job done. Really, at the end of the day, it's all probably mostly mental at that point. And just whichever team has a better mindset is going to come out on top.
Like, when I watch those highlights and I'm watching back the clips, I'm seeing calm, cool, in control, a big guy, right place, right time. Like, am I missing anything, or is that basically spot on?
I mean, you try. That's what you try. That's what you, that's what you search for sure. Sometimes it doesn't go your way, and sometimes you're a little bit off. But yeah, in the playoffs especially, the game simplifies in the playoffs, or it tends to, and it turns into a lot of just shots with traffic and volume over where the shot's coming from, and they're looking for rebounds and ugly, dirty goals. Power plays become extremely important at that point in the playoffs. So really, it's just about managing momentum, and I think that's what we did a nice job of both of those years. Is we got big penalty kills when we needed them, we got big goals when we needed them, and the team that manages the momentum swings the best usually ends up being the one lifting the cup at the end of the year. And we were lucky to do that, a couple years in a row there.
So where does TC Cummings come in?
Yeah, so TC is kind of like a performance coach. You could call him many things, but former Navy SEAL. He's a guy that I talk to once a week now, and a guy that I met at like a little goalie development camp that we used to do in Pittsburgh through my old coach Mike Buckley, and just a guy who is really an invaluable resource. You can't really put into words how much value you can get from a guy like that. One, just somebody that you can talk to, but also somebody to share their wisdom and share their experiences, and somebody to relate to you. And I'm not gonna get into too much detail about it, but he's a guy that has done wonders for me, in hockey, but also, and more importantly, just as a person, and helping me, find and discover and work my way towards being exactly who I want or hope to be. He's just a guy that's also been very, very influential in my life, especially in the last few years.
I talking about like becoming the man you want to be.
Yeah, we can get. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but yeah, we can talk about it a little bit.
I know there's like an underlying message that I think a lot of people can learn from. Like to basically paint the story, you recommended TC to me, and some of the things that you had told me previous to meeting TC, I kind of like scratched my head at thinking I don't quite get that. But after working with TC and being put in a position where, hey, you step on your crank hard enough, you're gonna have no choice but to learn. Oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. I get it now. Okay. Like, for example, like having enough respect for yourself to say, okay, I will tolerate certain things, I won't tolerate other things. And how can I put myself in a position for a win-win-win of everybody? Because if I'm winning, you're winning, and if me and you are winning, everybody wins. Yeah. Like, can you maybe elaborate just a little bit more? We don't have to get into specifics with TC. I know there's some things you want to
I just think it's important for everybody to have a person like that in their lives. Especially for me, once I had kids, and when I lost my dad, I all of a sudden became, the patriarch of the family, so to speak. With that becomes a lot of responsibility that maybe I wasn't ready for at the time. That TC certainly helped me out with a lot. And I think, you just want to be, once you have kids, everything changes. So you want to be the best version of yourself for them, right? And for your wife and for your family. Because if you're not, it starts to affect other people as well. And so that was my main, my main motivator in reaching out to him. And like I said, I worked with him long before that as well. But he's been very influential for me in these most recent years, especially. Mostly in stuff that has nothing to do with hockey, just stuff to do with being a dad or being a husband or being a family guy. And just finding exactly what it is that I want myself to look like the ideal version of myself, and working my way towards that. And it's never perfect, but he's been, for sure a massive influence for me in that regard.
Part of that is being respect worthy.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into the specifics of my personal stuff with him, but it's just the overarching message is finding exactly who you want to be, and making sure that you take dead aim at that. And you're always gonna falter because you're human, but having a guy to keep you on track and keep you looking in the right direction, and sharing some wisdom along the way, and a guy that you can relate to, because for some of us it can be hard to find somebody to relate to, or somebody to talk to, or you don't feel like you're complaining, but you're just you're just trying to share wisdom with each other and trying to solve big problems, and just an invaluable resource, like I said, and one that I wish especially a young man to have.
I got a question for you. I heard this on Jordan Binnington talk about this on a podcast maybe like 2 weeks ago. He was talking about one of the big things that changed when he came to the National League and he started seeing some success was his approach to training, in the sense of like when you're playing junior, or you're playing the American League, maybe you're a little bit constrained by finances. Like if you're only making like 50, 60,000, whatever, or even that, like training's expensive, ice is expensive, right? All that type of stuff. Has that changed your philosophy towards training now?
The financial part of it?
Yeah, like is there anything specific in the training that has changed since having a little bit of that financial freedom from playing in the NHL for a while?
Yeah, I think the quality of the food that you're able to buy, it's kind of ass backwards in today's world, where like the best food is the most expensive, and the most natural food is the most expensive. The cheap stuff is the stuff that's the worst for you. So really, just the financial part of it, you get access to more. I would say you get access to more recovery modalities. So you can buy, like I said, the Normatec boots, or you can get yourself a cold plunge tub, or things that maybe, especially coming from Thunder Bay, there's not a ton of resources like that up there necessarily. If you live in Toronto, that's a different story. You can go to like a public rehab, recovery clinic, or they have all kinds of stuff down here. But for me, I never even had like treatment of any kind until I was in junior. Like I didn't even know that was a thing, that you get like massage, or you get like ART, or you get any type of acupuncture or anything like that. So I never had any treatment, and I had no regular treatment until I turned pro. I thought it was just like you do it once in a while, because it was just not something that I was exposed to growing up. So I would just say, to answer your question, I just think that as you become a pro, maybe you make a couple bucks, you just get more access to different modalities and better quality food. You know, if you want, you can hire a chef and get you like some real high quality stuff, cook you some real high quality meals, save you some time as well, so you have time to spend with your family. So yeah, like everything, it just gains you a little bit more access, I would say.
You got a chef?
I had a chef briefly last year, Andy Muto. Shout out to Andy Muto. He's a popular chef here in Toronto. He works with a lot of the hockey guys. A good friend of mine. I used his services a little bit last year. Not full time or anything like that, but with 2 young kids at home and pretty busy, hectic schedule. He was cooking some meals for me for a while, and he's amazing. I'm sure a lot of guys watching may know Andy. So shout out to Andy Muto. He's one of the best.
Here's another really good one for you. So you got 2 rings. You've been very financially successful. You've accomplished a lot in your career as a professional. Like, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
I just think the challenge. I love a challenge, like in all aspects, and I don't think there's a bigger challenge than playing goal in the NHL. I think it's one of the hardest positions in sports. It's probably one of the hardest jobs, just in terms of its complexity and its difficulty. So I would say that at this point in my career, I just really, really enjoy a challenge. I enjoy being a part of something bigger than myself. I really enjoy being here in Toronto. Being here in Toronto really motivates me. You get to a certain point where, and money was never really a motivating factor, I wouldn't say. Winning the Stanley Cup was, for sure. Just being a part of something bigger than yourself, being a part of a group that climbs to the mountaintop. Like there's not many better feelings than that. It was a great sense of accomplishment. But once you have it, you need something that every day is going to be there. Not every day is a Stanley Cup final Game 7. So you need to love what you do, and you need to love the challenge of it. You need to love the ritual of it. You need to love the work itself. And so that's honestly what keeps me going at this point. Is I love the work itself. I love a challenge. I love pushing myself to try to find my limits. Otherwise, I feel a little bit worthless if I'm not pushing to my very limits. I start to feel a bit worthless. And like I said, just being part of a group that's all pushing towards the same goal. There's something very like poetic and very very fulfilling about that. And so I still do enjoy it a lot every morning.
That's one thing you kind of helped compartmentalize for me. Is this was a little bit loose before we started, having our friendship, but the idea of like achievement-based stuff, going out and like pushing the boulder up the hill, and whether it's for you trying to be the best dad you can, be the best husband, be the best goalie, best athlete, best man, whatever you want to put in there. I've always found the pursuit of that is what keeps me going. And once you achieve something, well, now what? Right? Like you win the cup. Okay, well, now I got to find something else to do. And whether it's, going to the gym, trying to get your shoulder press PR, or, trying to record a really cool podcast, or trying to be good at artsy stuff, or like whatever it is, like that achievement-based focus, I found you've really helped compartmentalize for me. And that's something that I love doing. So I owe you thank you for that. And I owe you thank you for a lot of things, man, like our friendship. And I've talked about it on the podcast a bunch of times. I wanted to say this more towards the end because I don't think anybody wants to hear it at the beginning, but you've really changed my life, man. I really do mean that.
Wow.
If I could, mind if I elaborate on that story? You want to keep that off the show?
Yeah.
So the way we met, basically, and I don't know, maybe you'll laugh at this, but the original version of the show, my co-host gave me an idea of, hey, like you should start like leaving comments on NHL guys' Instagrams to see if they can bite and get some interviews. Obviously, that didn't go very well. And then he said, "Oh, try the wives. The wives are the gatekeepers. The dudes aren't on social media, so the wives will be okay, sure." So then ended up throwing a couple like flames or a couple flags out to anybody who would respond, and Christina was one of them. And then I think she responded 6 months later, said, "Hey, just talk to Matt. Here's his number. Give him a shout. He's looking forward to chatting with you." I'm like, "Oh, all right, this finally worked," which was great. And then we kind of developed our relationship a little bit over the last, I guess, year and a bit it would have been. And then for myself personally, we'd set up to go golfing last summer on my way from Vancouver to off the season in upstate New York with my missus at the time, and then me and her versus you and Christina to go golfing. And I remember I texted you, and I know you're laughing, but I mean it is kind of funny. But I remember texting you saying, "Hey man, like I don't think we can go golfing because we had a pretty nasty breakup and that's not really going to work out." And then you and me ended up chatting about a couple things maybe we'll leave off the podcast. But you basically just said, "Hey man, I think you could get some help from TC. I think that you're missing a couple things," and that.
No, I didn't frame it like that. You're not missing anything, man. You're great. You're great. Don't get that twisted.
At the time, I think it was more focused around if you're a man that gets better at being a man with having some coaching from TC, right? About just being a man coach. I think you really benefit from this. And I was at a position where I'm like, man, like this is not a good situation I've put myself in. Everything is my fault in this situation. As a man, everything in your life is your fault, I believe personally. And that, okay, I'm ready to listen, right? If the student's ready, the teacher appears. And then you saying, "Hey, like I got you hooked up with TC, have a meeting, let's see where it goes." And then him kind of changing my whole perspective and kind of steering me in the right direction, whether it's business, podcasting, hockey, relationships, you name it. TC's turned everything on its head for me, and I owe that to you, man. I owe you a big thank you for changing my life and helping me. I really mean it, man.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, man. I appreciate you and appreciate you taking care of me on these podcasts and always looking out for me. And
you're my boy, dude. Always go to bat for you.
Whatever I can do to help you out, man. I just love your approach to life. You're always looking to improve, and that's why I thought maybe you'd be interested in a guy like TC. Not a lot of people are at the point where they would even think to try something like that. So kudos to you for doing it. I'm glad it worked out for you.
I think you just got me at a good time where I was ready to listen to anybody for a little bit of help here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just, right, the student's ready, the teacher appears, here's you recommending TC with a situation where I'm ready to listen and learn, and it couldn't have been a better timing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear that.
So I owe you a big thank you for changing my life, and the fact that, like I mentioned off the top of the show, that you're willing to reach out and say, "Hey man, I want to do a show together," that you're trusting me to tell your story. I know we got to chat about a couple things here, but it's an honor, man. It really means a lot, especially when you haven't done an in-person show with anybody else before, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't make it a habit of doing this type of stuff. Like I said, I don't make it a habit of talking about myself too much. I'm not really interested in everybody knowing all that much about me, but I just like you, man. I think your approach to life is great, and you've been nothing but good to me. We've become pretty close over the last couple of years, so appreciate you doing this. Appreciate you, giving me a chance to show myself a little bit more than usual. And I'm happy that everything's working out for you, man. Thanks for saying that.
We're gonna finish the show with a little kumbaya.
Yeah, we can skip that.
Let's. Why don't we do in the words of Sean Evans from Hot Ones? This camera's here. What do you have coming up? What are you looking forward to? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, I gave a shout out to all my old coaches. Shout out to Christina. I don't know if she'll watch this or not. I definitely won't be watching this. I hate watching myself, but I love watching all of your stuff. And yeah, I'm just excited. I got a couple more weeks, maybe another month here of really focusing on the dad stuff and the family stuff, and just really enjoying that before we start getting going here in August. Usually start ramping up, and I'm just looking forward to getting back home and seeing my kids. I've been away from them for a little while here now, so I'm really looking forward to that. Spending some time with them and with Christina, and getting going again this season.
I got one more. This is the last one, and this will blow the roof off the building if I haven't already. Big shoulders, upper body muscle as a goaltender. You've inspired me with that as well. I remember we talked about, last summer, like you putting on some weight. I think it was 2018, maybe 2019.
I put on a lot of weight. If you go back like to the Sioux days, I put on a ton. But yeah, since I was in the Sioux, I'm probably like almost 50 pounds heavier than I was
there a reason
back
why?
then. Well, a lot of it is just, the usual growing up type of stuff. I was still, still a child back then, really. I was the same height I am now, but I think I was like 6'4", like 170 at one point.
How long have you been 6'4"?
Probably like around 16, 17. Yeah, I would say I probably stopped growing around then. But yeah, so since the Sioux, I put on, I guess about 50 pounds or so, 45, something like that. But yeah, I think there's a balance. You never want to be too big. You never want to carry around too much weight out there. The more weight you have, the harder it is on all your joints, and the wear and tear may be accelerated, but you definitely need to be strong enough to have quick hands, especially for me having such long arms. I need to be strong enough to be able to move these long arms as quick as possible, right? So I just think general strength is important, for life too, not just for goaltending. But I think any man should try to focus on on being in good shape. So, but yeah, there is a balance to go with goaltending as well. I don't think you never want to be too big either.
I found it's really helped with my hands specifically, because as growing up, all you hear about is do some squats, do some hinges, do some deadlifts, all just single leg lower body. Nobody talks upper body outside of maybe a little bit of core. But you inspired me. Every single workout I do, there's always shoulders. Every single time, shoulders. Because you look at a guy like Bob, his hands are always engaged, are always in position, right time, right place. He's always making saves, which I found I'm a lot more stable because of that, which again, I owe a big thank you to you. And, a lot of people may not like that, but realistically, like, you need some upper body muscle. You need to kind of balance out the whole chain. Now, kind of like the hip issue, if something's weak, eventually someone's got to snap down the chain.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
I think you got to be strong everywhere to play goal, not just legs and core, but those are definitely the two most important, though, I would say.
Wow. Well, dude, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. It's been fun. Shout out to the Royal York. They hooked us up and allowing us, recording in this beautiful room. It's been almost a century old.
It is beautiful in here for sure.
Your office is right across. I'm looking at where you work right there. It's pretty nice.
You can see Scotiabank from here. Yeah, great view from up here. Great spot. Shout out to them for letting us do it here.
Didn't even charge a penny. Also, great coffee too. Good cup of Joe and the house-made honey on the rooftop. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to the show. This is my interview with Muzz, and part 1, part 2. I think this might end up being a 2-parter, but dude, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming down and trusting me with this, and I hope that everybody loves the finished product. And if you have any future questions, because hopefully we'll do it again maybe in a year from now, leave them down below. We'll circle back to them in 2025. And if you're on the YouTube video version, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think. If you're on the Apple or Spotify version, come over to the YouTube version and see how big Matt's shoulders are. You can get some context what we were just talking about. But my name is Travis Ridgen. I'm your favorite minor pro FPHL, former FPHL goalie. That's Matt Murray, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button. We do a new podcast every single Sunday during the season called Slangin The Bizkit. It is a non-mainstream hockey podcast, so we talk about my hockey career, the minor pros, all the stuff that you won't hear in the mainstream news.
Music,
Pop culture.
politics.
Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you soon.